I had finished medicine, so I joined the army after 2 years, and I went to the army hospital which was at Concord, and there I stayed for the rest of the war, worked there as a doctor. I was called up in early 42. I'd just started the second year at the Martyr. I think I know that I and a couple of the other women doctors who were with me applied to go overseas, and they wouldn't send us. I mean, they made the excuse that they didn't have accommodation for women doctors at any of the overseas hospitals, but the real reason was that they wanted us to run the hospital here because the men were going overseas. So most of the staff during the war were women, and the men would come and go as they were posted from one unit to another. The CO was a man. The Centaur was sunk off New South Wales coast. That was packed with doctors and nurses going up to New Guinea. A lot of good doctors went down there. Japanese prisoners, there were a few. Some of the doctors didn't want to treat them, or they'd like to bash them, you see. But we treated them like any other patient. It was good from the point of view of learning medicine, because we had a bit of everything. They weren't always war wounds or war illnesses. They had everything, any illness. I was promoted to major after a couple of years, and I was put in charge of the medical division there. Another woman doctor was put in charge of the surgical division. I think we ran them quite well. We managed.
So there were 6 Lusby children?
Yes. John had learned to fly, so he went immediately into the Air Force as a pilot. Judy joined the Women's Navy. Morris worked with radar. Bob joined the Army and was sent to Malaya. We heard of the fall of Singapore, that was known. The 30th Battalion were the first to meet the Japs on the Malaya Peninsula, and he was a signaller. So he was one of the last to leave when the Japs were pushing them back to Singapore. The signallers had to stay and keep signalling for as long as possible. And then they were pushed back with everyone else to Singapore. Now, I didn't hear any more after that till much later. We didn't hear about the work on the Burma Railway till some years after they got back.
So when you were at Concord, the POWs were feeding back the whole time, and I suppose you're waiting on news of
Exactly,
Bob.
Yes. Oh, well, they were being brought back by air and by ship, so we'd get a whole lot arriving at once, which we had to sort and put into wards and take their histories. But none of them, although they looked shocking because of the awful conditions under which they worked on the Burma Railway, they didn't actually talk about their deprivations, but they looked very thin, ribs sticking out and so on, and had all the evidence of scurvy and beriberi and all the lack of vitamins, lots suffering from malaria and dysentery or any other tropical diseases, liver disease. So we knew that they'd been through something pretty awful, but we didn't hear just what had happened for some time after that.
And what were your thoughts of Bob at the time?
Oh, well, of course, every time a group of prisoners would come in, I would be looking for Bob, which made it extra. I'd be extra anxious every time they arrived, but of course I didn't see him, and got the news of his death after, I think most of the prisoners had probably arrived back before we heard ourselves. Probably the authorities didn't hear until later.
Today, 25 veteran medicos held a reunion in Sydney, and for many, it was the first time they'd met up since the war.
So many of these veterans hadn't seen each other since the war ended, and many still say nothing of what they saw in the battlefields.
And I see Dr. Gwen Lusby, you're right in the middle, Gwen, of the whole lot of it.
Of course, none of these men and women regard themselves as heroes of war.
If it hadn't been for your care and your skills, many Australians would not be with us today.
They're just ordinary Australians who did something quite extraordinary. Felicity Davey, ABC News, Sydney.